Year 1307. Friday, October 13th. Before the sun even breaks the horizon in Paris, the gates of the Templar fortresses are simultaneously brought down. Hundreds of warrior monks, the most powerful and untouchable men in Christendom, are dragged to the dungeons in their pajamas. The charges: heresy, spitting on the cross, demon worship, and practicing dark rituals in secret. For 2 centuries, the Order of the Temple was the spearhead of the Catholic Church. Devout men who wore white robes with a red cross, swearing vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. But behind that facade of sanctity lay an empire that pulled the strings of Europe. Today, popular culture portrays them as heroes or guardians of mystical secrets. But who were they really? What were their true economic and political aims? And the most disturbing question: what truth was there to the theories about their hidden intentions? Prepare yourself, because the true story of the Templars is much darker, more fascinating, and more calculating than you've been told. To understand their downfall, we must understand their meteoric rise. It all began in 1119 after the First Crusade. A French knight named Hugh de Payens, along with 8 companions, decided to create a brotherhood to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. The roads were a hotbed of bandits, rapists, and murderers. They called themselves the Poor Knights of Christ. They were so poor, according to legend, that their official seal depicted 2 knights riding a single horse because they couldn't afford more. The King of Jerusalem granted them a very special headquarters, a wing of the royal palace that stood directly on the ruins of the legendary Temple of Solomon. And this is where the official story begins to unravel. For their first 9 years, these 9 knights admitted no new members, nor are they known to have actively protected any pilgrims. What were they doing, then, holed up in Solomon's temple? Modern archaeological excavations have revealed that the Templars dug extensive tunnels beneath the Temple Mount. The most widespread theory among unorthodox researchers is that they were searching for something, and they found it. Whether it was the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, or lost sacred texts, whatever they discovered granted them immediate power. In 1129, the Pope not only officially recognized them but also granted them the most privileged status in history, the papal bull Omni Datum Optimum. From that moment on, the Templars were not to obey any king. They paid no taxes, and they answered solely and exclusively to the Pope. The perfect arrangement was in place. Forget for a moment the image of the knight with the Templar sword praying in a chapel. The order's true power lay not in steel, but in its ledgers. The Templars became the world's first multinational corporation. Traveling in the Middle Ages with chests full of gold to buy land or pay for supplies was a death sentence. The Templars devised a brilliant solution: the traveler's check or letter of credit. It worked like this. A nobleman would deposit 1,000 gold coins at the Templar fortress in Paris. In return, he would receive a piece of parchment encrypted with a secret key that only the Templars knew how to read. Upon arriving in Jerusalem or Rome, he would present the parchment at the local branch and receive his money, minus a hefty commission for the service. Within a few decades, they amassed thousands of properties, vineyards, castles, and a private shipping fleet that connected the entire Mediterranean Sea. They became the lenders of Europe. If a king wanted to finance a war, he asked the Templars for money. If a pope wanted to renovate a cathedral, he went to them. Their true purpose quickly shifted, from protecting pilgrims to controlling the Western economy. But absolute power breeds absolute enemies. When the Holy Land was definitively lost in 1291, the Templars retreated to Europe. They no longer had a war to justify, but they still possessed all the money in the world and a private army of thousands of trained men. They were a state within a state. It was then that rumors, fueled by the order's secrecy, began to spiral out of control. The Templars held their chapter meetings behind closed doors, at night, and under a strict oath of death if anyone revealed what transpired within. Confessions obtained under torture fueled the myth of Baphomet. When King Philip IV of France, drowning in debt to the order, decided to destroy them on that fateful Friday the 13th, the confessions extracted under the brutal tortures of the Inquisition horrified the world. A Baphomet worship. They were accused of venerating a mummified human head, or a horned and bearded figure they called Baphomet. Some said this head granted them the riches of the earth. Others that it represented Muhammad or a Gnostic deity of wisdom. A profanation of the cross. The knights confessed that, during their initiation, they were forced to renounce Jesus and to spit on or trample the crucifix. Was this a psychological test of blind obedience, a ritual of detachment, or true apostasy? Occultism and Gnosticism. It is theorized that during their time in the Middle East, the Templars came into contact with mystical sects such as the Assassins, Hashishans, or Gnostic Christians. By absorbing this knowledge, they would have concluded that the Catholic Church was lying and that they were the guardians of the true story of Christ, one where Jesus was not a god, but a man with direct descendants. For modern historians, most of these accusations were fabricated by the King of France to confiscate their assets and erase their debt. However, the brutality and mystery surrounding the trial left one question hanging in the air for centuries. Did they succeed in destroying all Templar power? In 1314, the last Grand Master of the Order, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake in front of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. As the flames consumed his body, de Molay uttered a terrible curse to heaven. He summoned Pope Clement and King Philip IV to appear before God's tribunal within a year. Both died mysteriously a few months later. But the story did not end with fire. The Templars' famous fleet of ships, anchored in the port of La Rochelle, vanished the night before the arrests. It was never found, nor was the legendary treasure of gold and documents they kept in Paris. Theories suggest that the survivors fled to places like Scotland, where they aided King Robert the Bruce, or to Portugal, where they simply changed their name to the Order of Christ, the same one whose maps and ships Christopher Columbus later used. Other theories claim they transformed into secret societies like Freemasonry to continue operating from the shadows. The Templars began as mendicant monks and ended as the financial masters of their time. Their true aim was not religion, but the construction of a power structure capable of challenging entire empires. And perhaps, just perhaps, the embers of that bonfire in Paris never truly died out. If this message touched your heart, please subscribe to join our spiritual journey.